Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Amber.
And we're here interviewing Miss Marilyn Nelson at the Baldwin School.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up all over the country because I'm a military brat. And my dad was in the Air Force. And we lived in a different school every year, almost, pretty much. So.
As a child, what did you enjoy doing for fun?
Oh, reading, collecting rocks, collecting stamps, having pen pals, riding a bicycle, roller skating. I loved roller skating, etc.
Did you have siblings? Did you get along well? Could you tell us a little bit about your siblings?
Yes. I have two siblings, two surviving siblings. We had a brother who died, the baby of the family. But I have a sister who is 2 years younger than I am, and a brother who is 10 years younger. And I think we got along relatively well. So I do remember trying to run away from home once when my father told me to play with my sister. But I think that's pretty normal. We get along pretty well.
What was your favorite subject in school? Why? And what was your least favorite subject?
My favorite subject in school was probably English, reading. I liked anything that had to do with reading. I liked science also. There were several questions you asked. My favorite subject, my least favorite subject?
Yes.
Math. I'm just not very good. I never learned all of the multiplication tables. I never learned how to stop counting on my fingers. Do you do that?
Sometimes.
I never learned the sevens. I think that's where I stopped. And my father was always trying to teach me math. And he would explain, oh, don't you get it? It's really simple. Here. And I never got it. So that was my least favorite.
Did you like to write as a child?
I think I did, yes.
What kind of things did you like to write? Stories, poems, or other things?
I don't remember too much about what I wrote as a child. I remember one poem I wrote when I was about 5th grade. And I don't remember writing stories. I guess I must have written poems.
Would you say that you were a very creative kid? If so, were you creative in other ways besides writing?
Creative isn't a word I would think of to describe myself. I was shy. I was painfully shy. I was very quiet. I was very bookish. I was very awkward around other people. But I usually got good grades. So I don't know whether that has anything to do with creativity, but yeah, I got good grades. But I was more shy and quiet than creative.
Did any person inspire you to write as a child? How did this person inspire you?
As I told Amber, I was very shy and quiet, and I cried very easily when I saw something beautiful, sunset, beautiful baby, kittens. I cried. And when my parents' friends expressed concern about this, my mother always said, don't worry about Marilyn. She's very sensitive. She's our poet. So that made me believe that I was a poet. And I guess that was the earliest encouragement I received.
Is there any event or experience that inspired you to start writing poetry?
No, the first poem I remember is a poem I wrote about my brother. As I said, he was 10 years younger. And I wrote it when I was in 6th grade. I must have been 6th grade. And I remember his name is Melvin. And the poem is, Little Sir Melvin, in knighthood is he, rides on a black charger. It's really my knee. His shield is his spear is a bottle, his shield is a gown, and he looks quite splendid as he rides through our town.
What got you interested in translating the Danish poems?
I lived in Denmark for a year, and I had friends who had young children. So because these children loved this famous Danish children's poet, I knew his work, and I knew how wonderful it is. And I saw a volume of translations of his work, and the translations were really bad. They were made by somebody who didn't know English. And I thought, well, I can do better than that. So that's what made me start.
How did you do this work? Was it difficult to find the words that would allow people to get the ideas, feelings, and sounds of the original poems?
Not so difficult, because I felt very attached to the original Danish. I could understand them, and a lot of his poems are songs also. So I knew the music to them, and Danish is a language that's closely related to English. So there are some words that are very similar, and I don't know. I've lost the rest of your question.
Was it difficult to find the words that would allow people to get the ideas, feelings, and sounds of the original poem?
No, it wasn't. No, it's hard sometimes in translation because the rhymes are not the same. So sometimes it's hard to fit everything in perfectly. But given that fact, I don't think it was that difficult. And there's something really satisfying about translation. When you get it right, you know it's right. There's something really, really wonderful about that.
Tell us about how you first got your writing published. Was it very difficult?
My first publication, I think, was in a school literary magazine when I was in high school. And I just sent the poem in, and it was published. And then I published a couple of other things in little magazines like that. And then my first book was published when I was 30 years old. And for that, I was helped by a mentor who was my professor at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. He lives in Swarthmore. His name is Daniel Hoffman. He will be 90 years old this summer. And the last time I talked to him, he said, "You're my daughter." And I said, "You've always been my godfather," because it was he who helped me with my first book. And when my first book came out, he wanted to be the host of my first poetry reading, so he invited me down to the University of Pennsylvania to read. So he's been my godfather for a lot of years now, many years. I love him very much. Glad to put that on the podcast.
Do you have to do many revisions and edits to your writing to get it ready for publishing?
Yes. Many.
I read some of Pemba's song. What influenced you to create a character like Pemba?
Oh, that book is a collaboration with Tanya Hegeman. And I didn't create Pemba. Tanya created Pemba. I created the other girl. It's a story within a story. And I wrote the first part. My girl's name is Phyllis. And she is an 18th century African-American girl who's a slave in a small town in Connecticut. And I told her story in 12 sonnets. And then I finished that part of the story and I gave it to Tanya, and she wrote her part of the story around the story I had written. And her girl is contemporary and kind of hip, and her girl is an African-American girl who is moved from Brooklyn, I think, to Connecticut by her mother, and they wind up living in the colonial house where my girl had been a slave, and my girl's ghost is still in the house. So Pemba keeps seeing the ghost. And I'm glad you've read. Did you read the whole book, or?
I've just read some, but I'm going to finish it soon.
Good.
So what got you thinking about writing a ghost story?
We decided we wanted, I don't know where the idea of the ghost story came from. I remember that we wanted it to take place in Colchester, Connecticut. I remember going to an open-air museum in Massachusetts and picking a house at this museum, picking a house that was still kept like a colonial house, and then I drew the floor plan of the house, and then in our imagination we just moved that house to Colchester. And my part of the story, every scene I wrote takes place in a different room in the house, because I had done the floor plan. And I don't know why it's a ghost story. It just kind of happened, I guess.
Are there any poems that you keep to yourself or only share with special people? Poems that you do not put into published books?
That's a good question. No, I don't save things. I don't write unless it's for publication, or I don't write unless it's public. I don't write personal things. So no, I don't have anything like that. And if I did, I'd throw it away. I'd burn it. I throw a lot of stuff away. I don't keep everything.
What kind of work do you do now? Do you do any other jobs in addition to writing poetry and publishing books?
I retired as a professor from the University of Connecticut a few years ago, and now I'm teaching in a writing program at Hamline University in Minnesota. I have one student. It's a mentoring by mail. And that's all I've done. I've either written or taught. It's been my career.
Do you still have enough time to work on your poetry?
I have more time now that I'm retired. When I was teaching, it was hard to make time to write.
What advice would you give young girls who love to write and are interested in careers that involve writing?
My advice would be to read and to have courage, not to be afraid to write what they believe is important, and to find writers whose work they really like and to try to imitate it, so that way they take on a writer as a kind of a mentor, and to just do it, I guess.
Thank you so much for your time. It was
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Thank you, girls.
Thanks.